So the story begins at the end of 20 years, and then you backtrack.
Yeah.
And the purpose of that, if it's an adventure story, it's white knuckles, because behind every tree and rock there can be a trap or a bear or somebody with a knife. But because it's past history, you're not it's not adventure. He's survived all those things. So it's a study of the heart of a man and how he responded to that and how he managed to get through it.
Incredible.
Okay, so now you, the listener, the reader, you're an insider in the book of Tobit. You know the angel has been sent. The angel's 100% sure of fulfilling his mission on the condition that Tobias cooperates.
Yes.
And this insider, now that you're an insider in Tobias' story, you're an insider into your own life. The angel is a guarantee of success of gaining eternal life if you'll be faithful to him.
Yeah.
Do you ever pay attention to him? Do you pray to him? Do you heed the voice of conscience? So Tobit goes in, he tells his Sarah, he says, "Sister, rise, we have to pray. We need to pray and offer ourselves to God." And they light the incense coal, and then they put on the heart and the liver, and the smoke rises, and the evil spirit Asmodai comes, and the smoke drives him off, and Raphael chases him and ties him to a rock. So whatever you do, don't go to Egypt. So yeah, nice story, but what's this power of a heart and a liver? And does God work through things like that? You say, well, what about the water of baptism?
Yeah, there you go.
What about the consecrated oil of confirmation?
Of course.
What about bread and wine?
There you go.
So yeah, God does that thing. But what's the suggestion here with the heart and the liver? Well, you have to know a little Near Eastern psychology.
Okay.
We Westerners, we think with our head and love with our heart.
That's true.
But the Near Easterners know that you think thoughts of your heart and all your emotions are in your liver.
Interesting.
So yeah, somebody comes up and tells you they love you with all their liver, you know where they're from.
From the East, yeah.
Maybe Taliban, so be careful.
Yeah.
Okay, no, so that's the symbolism. So placing the heart and liver on the coal is a symbol of making an oblation of our intellect and will to God. And that opens the door that the angel can drive off the devil. So that works out, and they're happy, and now the father swears an oath. He's so happy of the successful marriage. They ask. He sends in the servants in the morning. He says, "How are they doing?" The servant comes back. "They're both sleeping peacefully." Fill in the grave. Fill in the grave. He doesn't want Tobias to know about that.
I love it.
But then he swears an oath that they're going to celebrate this for 2 weeks long.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And this is a torment for Tobias because his parents are counting the days. It's a rough neighborhood going through all these things, and they're going to be in dire fear and anguish when he doesn't show up.
Yeah.
So he asked Raphael, although he didn't follow Raphael's counsel, Raphael's still on his side. He says, "Raphael, could you go and get the money?" And he hands him the broken potsherd. Tobit and Gabael had signed this potsherd and then broke it in half. So they had, this was their code.
To connect it, yeah.
Raphael says, yeah, he goes and fetches the money. It's there. The bag of silver is still tied and they match the things. And Gabael comes back. And so they celebrate this feast together.
Great.
And then it's time to head out. So they set off, and now they've got a caravan. They've got the 10 talents of silver, plus they have half of Raguel's wealth that they'll receive the rest on the decease of the parents. And they set off in this caravan back to Nineveh. And Raphael tells him, he said, "Well, you remember how we left your parents. You and I ought to go on ahead. The servants can take Sarah, and we'll meet him there." So they hurry on ahead, and the dog's still with him. That's part of the story, but we left the dog out, so we'll leave it out now. And his wife, Anna is there. She sees him coming, and she runs and embraces her son, and then runs forward to tell her father, your son has arrived." And sure enough, then Tobias comes and meets his father in the street. Everybody's witnessing this miracle of grace. And he takes out the ointment and puts it in his eyes. And there's this searing pain for a moment. And then he can peel away the scales.
Wow.
and his father's eyes are opened, and he says, "Son, O light of my life, I can see you now and die in peace." Well, he underestimated Raphael again because he's going to live for another different versions, but about 60 years more and see four generations of grandchildren.
Incredible.
And then he'll die, and he tells them they need to get away from Nineveh because Nineveh's going to get its payback time too. And then after Tobit dies, then Nineveh is taken out, but Tobias and his wife are safe in another kingdom. So they celebrate this feast for a couple weeks and a week or so, and then he says about time we start paying Azarias for his good work and give him a good tip.
Yeah.
And Tobias says, "Father, if I gave him half of everything, I'd be none the worse off. In fact, I would have nothing without his help." And the father says, "Yes, give him half."
Wow.
Now remember, that's
Incredible.
your line when you get to heaven.
Yeah.
And they say, "Come on in, you good and faithful servant." And you say, "My guardian angel deserves half
Yeah.
because without him,
I
I wouldn't be here."
Well said.